Hello, welcome back to Diary of a Creator. I am Victoria, the soul-led career coach, and this is a space for ambitious, freedom-seeking souls like me who refuse to settle for the ordinary. So if you're feeling stuck in a life or career that no longer fits, you're starting to question your path and craving something more freedom, more fulfillment, more alignment, then you are in the right place. And if my content resonates with you, I would love it if you could like, share, subscribe. It helps me to reach more souls who need to hear this message. Now, it has been a little while since I have been on here. Apologies, I have been taken away by the Bali bubble, had quite a bit of things going on, some good, some bad, like a foot injury this week from a dog bite. So it's fair to say I've been in my own little whirlwind of journey, but coming back to it now in a place to share, to serve. So I wanted to start on a reflection that has been a journey for me. I titled it, The Higher Achiever Isn't a Personality Type, It's a Survival Strategy. I'm going to talk into this, talking into ambition and that overachiever, typical corporate type, the type that I identified with. I owned it, I wore it very proudly, but I was also exhausted, burnt out, and really, I guess at the crux of it, I could never ever feel content. And that discontentment and that feeling and that way of operating followed me out of corporate into the business, into almost everything that I went for, the things I'm trying to achieve. And it's really a very, very tiring personality type. It's not a personality type. This is the point. It is a survival strategy. And I'm going to talk into what I mean by that. This came up in my women's circle last week. One of the women, she said, we never actually stop to ask ourselves, why do we want what we want? Why are we chasing certain things? And it's a really, really important question that honestly, in reflection of many of the achievements that I've gone for, I'm not even sure if I've sat to really ask this question. And I'm not talking about answers that are like, I want more money, I want to grow in my career. Like, really, why? That deeper why? Because chances are, if any form of achievement or anything you're in that you're going for and you're achieving, and it's just not feeling good, it's obviously not going to feel good all the time. If you're not feeling fulfillment by moving towards it and momentum and energy, likely it is that your definition of success is not quite matching to what you are achieving. And when we think of this ambitious, overachieving type like me, it's interesting what happens when you start doing the healing work. And this is what I want to talk into through my own experience. What has happened to me over my journey? I highly identified with being labeled or labeling myself as a very ambitious go-getter. Over time, the desire in me for that has just declined. It's not that I'm not moving towards something, it's just it's entirely different. And why is this important when it comes to a soul-led path? Because if you are driving any form of your decisions and your search from this wounded space, really, it's a survival mechanism, you will wind up thinking that you've chosen your purpose, and you might have. I'm not discounting that because I had, but the way that you approach it, the way that you work into it, will mean that it feels exactly how you do now, which is likely exhausted, drained, fatigued, really never feeling a sense of peace within your body, within your mind. It will just feel exactly like what you're trying to get away from. And this is why I want to talk to it today. So, as I said, I identified as the overachiever. That is what I did. It was very much my identity right from teenage. I remember being in high school. I'm like, I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I had all this ambition. I put all my energy into studies, getting into the right corporate roles. I put all my energy into my corporate roles. I went up quickly, but obviously it never really felt very good for me. I was only a year into corporate where I already got the, what is this? So I left corporate, thinking that this would resolve itself, this constant like cycle to prove yourself, to work hard, to hustle to get what you want, which is what I had learned. But I thought leaving corporate, done, wrong. This approach came into my business in the first few years, and it was just, I literally dropped my life, like social life, all of these things for this business. And I winded up just putting all my energy in. And you know what? It ended up feeling the same. It just felt literally the same. It's like taking one path and putting it into the other. The reason why is because I had never actually fully sat with and worked on the reason why I run this overachiever personality type, why I keep wanting to hustle. It's never enough. Nothing is ever enough. There's not enough actions. It's always into this burnout, constant moving action energy that I had just totally identified with for pretty much my entire life. And what ended up happening after that, kind of running into the business that way, is I just kind of completely flicked to the other side. I was like, I'm out, no action, no motivation, which is also not a comfortable place for me to be in. And now that I reflect on it, that was a cycle that was super common for me throughout corporate. So I used to go into corporate, work my ass off, go burn out, fuck this, and then I would go be a gypsy and travel, coming out of one polarity right over into the other, but not actually in the middle. And this is why I say this has been unraveling for me, because where I'm aiming to go is in the middle. It's not about not doing anything and not being ambitious, but it's also not about driving ambition through unhealthy avenues when we're looking to be validated. And we haven't really been taught that balance. We haven't been taught the art of actually acting and having energy and ambition from our heart, not our head, and acting from alignment rather than what we think is what we need to do in order to be successful. We get fed stories around productivity and action. And if you're not acting, you're not productive. It's just simply not true. And you can even find so much evidence of that. Like the most unproductive people are often the ones that take 2 times longer to do the same thing. It's what they say, work smarter, not harder. But ultimately, that kind of action where we just almost are moving just for the sake of moving and being ambitious for the sake of being ambitious and always kind of acting, moving. If it's not anchored to where you genuinely want to go, so this is why that question at the beginning is really, really key. Why do I want this? If it's not actually getting you what you want, which is what most people find themselves in, because generally speaking, fulfillment is a quite key one. If it's not, then there's no point acting, because you are literally just moving yourself towards what you don't want. It's about acting from a different space. It's acting from the heart and the soul. And we need to learn this. If you are the overachiever type, maybe still in corporate doing all these things, or you might be in the stage that I am and you find yourself ending back up into these cycles, it's a constant process of teaching ourselves a different way of operating. So why do we get into this way of operating? I mean, there are many, many reasons, but I just want to boil it down to the genuine function of the egoic mind, which is the survival mind, the fear mind. It is what programs the majority of our behaviors until we kind of wake up to that and we start to shift it consciously. But the egoic mind will always lock on to behavior and focuses that it believes will get us accepted, recognized, validated by those around us. What the ego is really looking for is, how do we fit in? How do we belong? How do we get our needs met? That's its job. It's to help us survive. And if you resonate as an overachiever, then you either have a wounded connection to the masculine figure in your life. I want to premise that that's an energy, not necessarily father or mother. It can be whoever holds the masculine energy, because what we're actually seeking from the masculine energy that we grow up around, or maybe you didn't have a masculine energy, which will also be playing into this, we look to them to validate how we operate in the world. That's what we're looking for the masculine from. And if we did not receive this in any shape or form, so what we're talking about here is like acknowledgement for It could be like when you're younger, like sports, like you did really good, and there's like a masculine almost guiding you through the way. If we didn't receive that attention from the masculine, unconsciously, we have been wired to almost overcompensate. And all of our achievements are running off of this. It's chasing a validation that we never felt we received. Issue is just like a never ending escalator. The other way is just generally in your family, this type of behavior or focus was rewarded, recognized, or prioritized by your family. So that was me. Achievement, brains, academic were very valued in my family. I was taught very early on that it was my strong suit. So, not my personality or my warmth or anything. I was a very shut down child. It was always my academic performance. And so, what does a child take from that? Oh, okay. If I excel in this area, I'm going to get the attention and love that I need in order to survive. If I achieve, this is going to make me valid. And herein starts this cycle. Without us even realizing why we're doing it, it's this constant cycle of trying to find that validation that deep within the inner child doesn't feel like it ever got. Now, whichever way you're coming from it, and I'm not discounting achievement. I'm talking about the achievement where it's constant. It's like you've got one thing onto the next, you've got one thing onto the next. There's no level of contentment that comes in during that process. And a lot of the achievements that you get don't really actually hit the spot because there's always this like emptiness that you kind of feel inside. That's the type of energy I'm talking about that. And why is this really happening? It's because we define success based on what the external environment has told us. So whatever we have learnt is success, our overachieving will be geared that way. And we'll keep running that way until we work out what we're doing, which is what happened to me. But funnily, there was a level of it that I worked out when I left corporate because I knew corporate wasn't it. But that identity hadn't changed because I was still operating it in my business. And the funny thing about a soul-led business and path is the soul doesn't let you go far in that energy because things just stop working. They just stop working. Like that's what happened to me. I could hustle as much as I wanted. It didn't work. I was getting very evidently told or shown, stop, you're going the wrong way. What you're doing is not wrong. The way you're doing it is because it's this wounded type of I need to prove who I am as a person. You might label it as purpose, mission, all of these things, and underneath it, there likely is. However, the way that you're operating through it is this premise that you need to prove your purpose and be a worthy person and a good person and all of these things that come up through the ego. But the only thing that can really ever truly define what your success is and where you want to put your energy is you. And when we are anchored to an external definition of success, there's always going to be a level of disconnect within. It's never going to completely satiate or feel good. That is the key divider. Now, how do we start to shift out of it? Well, one, if you're listening to this and you identify with these signs, explore it because it's a never-ending journey that's just going to feel exactly the same as what you're trying to get out of. And I've had to go through the hard lessons on this one where instead of driving from the ego and all of that, coming back into the heart and the soul, which will naturally move slower. Naturally, it won't move at the time that you want. You might feel like sometimes you have no clarity at all because it's not ready to give it to you. It's really, really coming back into the body and trusting. But what I would do is I would start by honestly, truly reflecting. So doing this in meditation or however you best sit, draw your energy and focus into your heart and ask, why do I want this? What is it giving me? What is the payoff? If I were to achieve this, how does it make me validated? Just sit with it and just see what comes through that, because often the answer that we get initially will probably maybe be surface, but you really want to dig into, why do I want that? Why do I want to do that specific action? Am I doing it for service? Am I doing it for me? Or am I doing it for my ego? And when we're doing anything for our ego, and many people in soul-led business are still doing things for their ego. I even had to check this morning why I even wanted to come on here and do this. Like, am I doing it for my ego or am I doing it for service? That's the difference. If you're doing it for your ego, then ask why. What does the ego want from this? What does it need? So even some narratives that will play out for me, oh, you need to do this. You've got to be consistent, blah, blah, blah. You need to have this, need to. Notice it keeps being need to, need to, need to, need to. That's ego. It's all ego. When you're in your ego, you're not in service. You're not actually coming from service. You might on the outside be serving people, but you're actually serving your own ego by serving them, if that makes any sense. So it's a big unravel. It's not about making ourselves wrong for that or being like not doing it. It's just becoming really, really aware of how much the ego and the need to be validated actually drives our path, because the more you drive it that way, the more you're going to continue to feel the same level of unfulfillment. It's only when we drive life from our heart and our soul truly that the fulfillment comes. And I'm not sitting here saying I've mastered this. Like, this has been coming up for me. Well, really, I call it the universal slaps in the face, where they're just like, stop doing that. And I'm listening and pulling back. I'm moving slower. When I don't have any clarity, I don't have any clarity. But this is really key for those who genuinely want to feel good about what they achieve. We need to pull ourselves out of this wounded definition of success, which is like ambition, titles, money, accolades, people recognizing, followers, likes, all these things. These are all accolades for the ego. They're not accolades for the heart. Even just sitting in this morning, I was thinking about it. I was like, the ego wants to be for, let's say with content, the ego wants your words to be received by so many people and like, oh my God, I'm going to be viral. Your heart wants your words to reach the soul that you are meant to serve. Period. It doesn't give a shit about likes, followers, anything like that. None of those metrics does your heart care. It cares that you've reached the souls that you're meant to. It cares that you've connected to the souls that you're meant to. It's a totally different metric. It depends where you want your focus to be, honestly, because we all have a choice in this. All I'm saying is from my own lessons and learnings of being more in the validating path without realizing it, is it doesn't bring happiness. And happiness is my definition of success. Well, not happiness, peace and fulfillment, and to genuinely serve others and really be in that, like really, really love it. But when you're putting yourself out in a soul-led path, your ego is going to be there going like, oh, people are receiving it. Oh, like it, there's just always that element there. So we need to be really aware of it and pay attention. Pay attention when it's pulling you off course, because it will. It's pulled me off course like so many times. It's just like, we're all works in progress here. We're all walking each other home. We'll just go with that. For me, number one, that question is key. Like, what am I even doing this for? And is it heart or ego? I resisted what the heart was saying for a long time because I couldn't trust into it. I just thought the only way to get things done, do things, achieve was to be in the action hustle, the to-do list. And I just resisted the notion that, which I've been pulled into, which is part of the reason why I wasn't on for a little while, the notion that rest and inaction is also productive. Like that for me is difficult. I have even been in bed most of the weekend with what I thought might be a rabies foot infection, which is fun. But I keep getting these things that keep pushing me to rest. And it's interesting because after the periods of rest, the energy comes, the creation comes. It's just, we are cyclical. We're not always meant to be on. The rest and the pullback is just as important as shifting forward. And Teal Swan even had this really good reel where she said the people that understand success most are the types of people that sit back and wait for the right momentum, time, all of these things, and then they propel forward. What we define as success in society is the people that just run forward straight away, act, 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 act. That's a slow path. The path where you're waiting for the alignment, where you will be in inaction, rest, all of these things, actually propel forward quicker. Why? Because they're actually in alignment. It's all about alignment with that. And I'm going to pop a link for anyone who feels ready for the journey. If you're ready to step into the soul-led path, find out what's in store for you, what your intuition is saying, and the inner work, which is what I help you through, that needs to kind of be happening in order for us to be acutely aware of when our ego is driving and when our heart is driving. And that's really what we want to get to, is an awareness of the two parts, and then go, thank you for driving my life, but I'm going to follow my heart. So I'm going to leave it there.